Okay, ready.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Going to start now. It's 11 o'clock sharp, 10 o'clock in the UK. So good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining this webinar on the robotics and automation opportunities in the UK. I'm Andrea Myers. I work in the Department for Business and Trade at the British Embassy in Madrid. My colleague Cristina Monteiro and myself are organizing this webinar with our colleagues from different British embassies in Europe. So we have a really good international representation. I think we have 14 countries represented today. I won't name them all, but we even have one from the Vatican City. So really, really good turnout. So thank you. Thank you very much. Please put any questions you may have in the Teams chat, and we'll try to reply to some of them at the end of the webinar. The ones that we can't reply to, we will do so by email afterwards, and we'll get back to you. So now I'm really pleased to introduce our organization's Investment Director for Europe, Cristina Liaus, who will give an overview of the UK's industrial strategy and how the robotics and automation sector is part of this. Cristina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Andrea, and welcome everyone, wherever you are. Yes, my name is Cristina Liaus. I head up our investment team in Europe for the Department for Business and Trade. And it's a real pleasure for me to open this robotics and automation webinar. And I hope it will be really interesting and fascinating for you too to take part, because robotics and automation is really fascinating. It's a really fascinating sector. And it's also a key part of the UK's industrial strategy that we launched last year in the summer of 2025. Maybe you've heard about the industrial strategy of the UK. It's our 10-year plan to increase business investment to grow the industries of the future in the UK, such as robotics and automation. And it's focusing on 8 sectors that are all critical to support the economic security and resilience of the UK, to drive the net zero agenda and support companies all across the UK landscape. And it is really interesting opportunities that we see for robotics and automation companies like yours in the industrial strategy. Maybe you have heard already about the UK's major overhaul of the regulatory landscape that used to sort of slow down innovative companies. But instead, the UK has now adapted a very pro-innovative regulatory environment with streamlined approvals and government-backed training for digital and engineering roles that works in the robotics sector. Or maybe you have heard about the UK investment in the new robotics adaptation hubs to help companies gain access to robotics expertise and support to integrate robotics in their operations all across the UK. Or maybe you have heard about the government's Smart Machines 2035 strategy, which is a more specific long-term roadmap focusing on robotics and smart machines adaptation. So I think that's just a few examples of how the UK offers really interesting market opportunities in terms of shorter regulatory pathways to success, more support for adaptation, clear growth opportunities for companies, and a stronger sort of foundational support system in the UK. So this webinar hopefully will give you much more of an overview of the opportunities that you will find in the UK in the robotics and automation sector. So you will hear from my colleagues in the UK government and elsewhere during this webinar. You will meet the colleagues from the Department for Innovation, Science, Innovation and Tech, DSIT. You will meet the UK Research and Innovation Network, OCRI. You will meet also the Finnish company Hyperion Robotics, who have recently set up in the UK, and they will talk to you about their experience doing that. And you will hear from the National Robotarium, which is sort of the most important research hub in the UK at the moment. You will also meet Keystone Law and our visa specialist that can help you set up your framework for operating in the UK. So if you are planning to expand your business to the UK, these contacts should all be really valuable for you. And of course, if you want to discuss your specific plans for the UK with us in the Department for Business and Trade, that's what we do all the time, help companies set up in the UK. Feel free just to reach out to us. We are all located in the British Embassy in the markets where you are. So in your country, you will find a British Embassy. You ask for the Department for Business and Trade, and my colleagues will be really delighted to help you advance your plans in the UK. So as Andrea said, if you have questions for us during all of this, please put them in the chat and we will pick them up during the webinar and hopefully answer them at the end. And after this meeting, you will receive a sort of comprehensive pack with all relevant information about the UK market for robotics and automation. So I think we are now all set up for a really interesting and fascinating webinar. So I think we should just start, and I hand back to you, Andrea, to lead us through. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christina. That was wonderful. Now I'd like to welcome Caroline France from the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, and Jonathan Walker, Robotics Innovation Lead at Innovate UK, which is the agency which provides support and funding to UK businesses so that they can grow and thrive. So over to you.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone for joining today. Hopefully everyone can see those slides on the screen now, but let me know if not. So my name is Caroline France. I lead robotics and autonomous systems and advanced materials policy teams in DSIT. So we look after a variety of different tech sectors and look at how we can best support the innovation ecosystem and capitalise on any opportunities and barriers for those sectors in the UK. So today I'm going to go through a bit of the context around robotics in the UK at the minute, and yes, can share the slides as well. So in terms of where robotics fit into the overall UK government's strategy, I think it's useful to look at the 5 missions. So the number 1 mission of this government is around driving growth, and we all know on this call how important robotics technologies can be in driving productivity and taking people away from those dull, dirty and dangerous tasks. It's also increasingly seen as the next frontier of AI and all of the benefits that can bring on growth through the supply side as well. The other missions around clean energy, we all know use cases around an offshore, undersea, etc. Safer streets. The police in the UK are increasingly using drones as well as other technologies. The opportunity mission, and which is the mission around education, we're looking to automation we're looking to do that through our Robotics Adoption Hub program, looking at how we can best upskill the existing workforce so that they're ready for these new technologies. And then lastly, the mission around our National Health Service. We all know that robotics, whether it's surgery, whether it's logistics around hospitals, rehabilitation, many use cases that can be taken forward in that sector. On the next slide, just want to give a sense of what's in the UK already. So we do have a lot of clear strengths, and they do exist across the country. So Stuart's going to be talking about the National Robotarium shortly. Many of the centres focus on specific end-use sectors. Others are a bit more cross-cutting. So on the slide, we've got the Agri-Food Centre in Lincoln. We've got the Manufacturing Technology Centre, which focuses on robotics in manufacturing as well as some other areas. Marine Autonomy down in the south in Plymouth, and nuclear in Culham in Oxfordshire as well as in Cumbria in the northwest. There's lots of other institutions that aren't on here that we couldn't fit on the slide, but just to give you a sense, we do have them spread across the UK, and gives you a sense, depending on what end-use sector your business is focused on, where it sort of might fit best into that landscape. The next slide is on the existing company landscape of robotics companies in the UK. So through some analysis, we've identified over 2,000 companies that operate in the UK at the minute. And again, they're spread across the UK and typically around where those end user sectors are, which again might give you a sense of like where best your business might fit in the UK. And so a clear example is there's a big circle around the Aberdeen area, which would be focused on sort of offshore use cases, but you can see that there is a spread across different areas and sort of more or less depending on the how advanced those use cases are, as well as the UK ecosystem itself. So robotics is a huge widespread area, so there's lots going on within government in different quarters at the moment. So these are just a few examples that we've got up here. But we've got the Advanced Research and Invention Agency doing some work on robotics dexterity, as they see that as a key bottleneck for driving forward robotics. We need to get the hand sort of more precise in order to be able to carry out more tasks. So that's more on the blue sky research side of things. But the National Health Service have recognised robotics as one of its 5 transformative technologies, with a commitment around more and more keyhole surgeries being done involving robotics over the next decade. Of course, defence was a big part of the strategic, autonomous systems was a big part of the strategic defence review, and the money going in on that side. Agri-tech is one of the frontier industries in our industrial strategy at the moment. So if you have robotics products on that side, there's lots going on there, and innovation support that's available. The other one mentioned on there is around self-driving cars, and the investment that's gone in from the Department for Business and Trade into those, and there'll also be trials this year on self-driving cars in the UK. So that's just to give you a sense of some of the activity that's going on at the moment. The next slide is around, in addition, on the DSIT side, in addition to funding ARIA, our big focus is on how we can best promote and accelerate adoption of these technologies in the UK. So this report, a little old now, a few years ago, but gives you a sense of the enormous potential of adopting these technologies within different sectors. And this doesn't include the manufacturing or defence sectors. So the purple bar on the left is current automation trends, and then the potential automation trends on the right. So it shows you the massive gains that could be found in construction or health and social care, in particular in the UK. But again, those are just some of the opportunities that we see and want to support for UK productivity. Lastly, as I mentioned, we have a big adoption focus at the moment, and these are the 2 initiatives that Christina mentioned in her introduction on the adoption hubs and then the Regulatory Innovation Office. So that was announced just last month in the UK. And Jonathan is going to be talking a bit more about the adoption hubs. So I think time to stop there, and I'll pass over to Jonathan. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. I'll just share my screen. Hopefully that's coming through okay.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm Jonathan Walker, the Innovation Lead for Robotics and Electronic Systems at Innovate UK. I'm going to talk about robotic support and opportunities. If I can get the slide to move on. So Innovate UK is part of UKRI. UKRI gets 9 billion from government every year to spend on research and innovation, and Innovate UK is the business-facing side of UKRI. Our mission as the overall UKRI is to advance knowledge, improve lives, and drive growth. We are widely distributed across the UK. Innovate UK itself is mainly run by field staff, so we're distributed in our homes across the UK, but we work anywhere that is needed. I myself am based down in Plymouth, but I'm regularly travelling to London, Birmingham, all of the country. Main physical assets are the Catapult network. We fund these with about a third of their funding. They get another third from industry, and the other third is through competed grants, for example, and other funding streams. Catapults specialize in anything from manufacturing to gene therapy or semiconductors, and they're really driving innovation with industry. Oh, also wanted to mention the agri-tech centres are similar to Catapults. They do get funding from the government, and they're working to increase innovation in agriculture. So Innovate UK products and services, I'm not going to go through all of this. We do provide funding to businesses to help them innovate, but there's also a range of non-cash support that we provide as well. Support is for UK companies, but if you were to expand your business into the UK, then you would become eligible for that support as well. So funding can be in the form of grants. These are the most common thing that we provide for specific projects normally. But there's also innovation loans, investor partnerships, where we invest alongside equity investors, and contracts. And then on the non-cash support side of things, we support skills, growth, experts, collaborations, both within the UK and globally. Alongside UK, I wanted to mention some of the other support networks. So we've got Tech UK, which is one of the tech associations in the UK. You can become a member. I think they've got about 1,000 members, and they work across all different technologies, generally advanced technologies, with robotics being one of these. And they've just started a new robotics program that includes workshops, roundtables, reports, interviews, and networking events. You can use the QR codes there to get to their website. There's also Automate UK, which includes the British Automation and Robotics Association and several others. They organise the yearly PPMA trade show. They are also a member organisation for end users, integrators, and vendors of robotics and automation. There are a couple others as well, Make UK and Made Smarter, both focus on manufacturing, and you'll find other trade associations around the country for other aspects of technology. So Caroline briefly mentioned the robotics adoption program. I'm going to go into it in a little more detail, but in the interest of time, not a huge amount more detail. So the main thrust of it is these robotics adoption hubs, which are going to provide advice to end users on what robotics are, identify an application in their organization, and help them contact vendors, integrators, and finance providers to result in more robots being installed across the UK. A recent report revealed that the UK is actually top in the world for research quality in robotics, but we are lagging severely behind in robotics adoption, which is why we're focusing on that end of the scale currently. Alongside the hubs, we're going to fund development of robotics skills courses. These will be bridging the gap in skills. Obviously, if we don't have much robotics adoption going on in the UK, there's also a lack of skilled and trained people to do that adoption. And to tie these things together into a national program, we're going to have a central convening body, which will help share information between the hubs, success stories, and of course, lessons learned, which are sometimes more valuable to save us making the same mistakes over and over again in silos. And this program is going to have the impact of increasing productivity, safety, competitiveness, sustainability, GVA, defence, health, and infrastructure. Some of the current support that's available currently, the Local Innovation Partnerships Fund, I wanted to mention it because it's an enormous support program from UKRI, £500 million, but it's actually closing on the 12th of February. So unless you're already involved in a consortium, then it's probably too late to apply. We did pre-allocate 10 regions of £30 million for innovation, and it's really focused on the triple helix partnerships of civil, industry and academia working together for innovation. Not necessarily focused on any one technology, but I've been encouraging consortia to apply into it with a robotics focus. I mentioned briefly the Innovate UK innovation loans. There's always a round of this open. As soon as one round closes, the next business day, another round will open. You can get a loan from anything between 100,000 and 5 million. And one of the fantastic things about this is that you only pay interest on what you draw down. So for example, you take a loan for £1 million, you only spend 100,000 in the first year, you're only paying interest on the 100,000. Our robotics skills development competition opened on Monday. Very exciting to see that. We're spending £2.5 million on development of skills courses for robotics. Very vocationally focused. One of the examples I've been using is perhaps a college developing a robotics module that welding apprentices can take so that they can integrate robotics into their careers. You're going to get anything from £100,000 to £500,000, and these are projects, and it closes on the 1st of April. And then the main robotics adoption hubs program is £40 million across the hubs and the central convening body. And this is to develop that network of hubs. We're looking to fund between 5 and 8 hubs, and each one can get between 2 and 7.5 million. Projects are going to run from September 2026 all the way through till March 2030. And the competition, provisionally, we haven't opened the competition yet, but provisionally it's going to launch on the 24th of February. And that's all from me. Thank you very much.
That was right on time, Jonathan. Thank you. Excellent. Thanks a lot, Caroline and Jonathan. Now we will hear from Ashish Mohite from the Finnish company Hyperion Robotics, a case study of what actually happens when you enter the UK. So please, Ashish, if you could introduce yourself and say a little bit about your company.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. My name is Ashish Mohite, and I have a PhD in construction and 3D printing. Hyperion Robotics is a company which is in the space of construction automation, based both in Finland and in the UK now. And we focus on construction, specifically about infrastructure and energy.
Thank you. Thank you, Hashish. Tell us a little bit, why did you choose to expand your company to the UK? What made you make that sort of decision?
Yeah, so we were invited to join a startup accelerator based in London, which was specifically catered towards construction technology companies. So we went there for a few months, and then we got into touch with a lot of tier 1, tier 2 contractors in construction industry. And they received our technology quite positively, and we moved from introduction of the technology to them to actually doing construction projects on site in a very short amount of time. We were very surprised how the UK contractors were so open for innovation, and we started doing more and more projects, and this was just a match made in heaven. We decided that I think we need to have a more presence in the UK. Because we now did 7 commercial projects in the UK, and yeah, we were just astonished by the speed of how those projects happen. For example, in Europe takes a little bit more time than in the UK, the adoption of the new technology in an actual project.
Fantastic. So where did you end up set up your business?
We have a facility now in Scunthorpe, so in Lincolnshire.
Fantastic. And so what were the challenges, and how did you, if you found any challenges, and how did you overcome them?
Well, there were a few challenges. So one of the main challenge was, first of all, to locate the facility and to find a supply chain around that facility, because every facility needs supply chain. And I think again, there is a good story here to tell, because we contacted local authorities, so both in Midlands and North Yorkshire, and they were quite instrumental in looking for facilities for us. So they did their homework. They presented us options of these might be the possibilities of the facilities where you could go. I went there. They were present on the ground to help me around for 2 days. Showed me around 20 facilities, quite a lot of facilities in 2 days. But then that helped us a lot to understand how the local regulations work, because it changes from council to council, how the supply chain works, where are the closest highways. Yeah, and then that obstacle was solved because of the local authorities who were very, very helpful.
Fantastic. That is really good to hear. And I guess you needed quite some space. I mean, these are the structures that you built behind you. They are on the picture, right?
Yeah. So
how much space do you need?
these are the structures which we also did for a project for National Grid like a few months ago. We need like quite a large facility. So right now the facility in Flixborough is roughly around 35,000 square feet. So it's a large industrial hall. Yeah, so it is quite difficult to find such a size of facility which is very close to other kind of infrastructure. But in the UK, there were many of those.
Absolutely. So so what worked really well? What you were surprised at how fast it went, and how open they were to help you. But were there other things that went really well?
The other things, I think the ecosystem. So the ecosystem is, I think, works quite well. We had some connections in Sheffield University before to do some research collaboration together, but then with them we also got introduced to MRC, the MTC, which are also the local organizations which are doing collaboration with companies like us, and also doing innovation together with us. And then we also found, like, of course, Innovate UK is there. We are going to apply for one of the loans, which he was mentioning before, for the next round. So this is something which already we know. But then there are also local funding opportunities, like there is opportunity from Ofgem, there is opportunity from Ofwat, if you're in those specific sectors, to apply for those fundings. And those fundings are quite interesting, because those fundings also end up in a real project. So they don't end up as a pilot, but they end up as a real project, which as a construction company or technology company in construction is very important.
That's absolutely fantastic to hear. So a great ecosystem, university collaboration, something about loans, and basically contracts that really end up being sort of buildings in the end, as I see there on the picture. So what would you say in terms of sort of competitiveness, and what has paved the way for Hyperions to become really successful in the UK? What's the sort of the one key thing?
I think the opportunity for growth right now in the UK is tremendous, especially in the sector which we are in infrastructure. The government is going to spend a lot of money in infrastructure, building a lot of infrastructure, specifically in energy sector. And this gives us an opportunity to put our foot on the ground, right? So because there is such a large opportunity, we can have a small slice of the pie. And another thing is that the framework agreements or the offtake agreements which exist in the UK, which we were not used to before, and those ones also allow us to show our investors, for example, interests that, hey, we have actually offtake agreement with this tier 1 contractor. This project might go around for next couple of years, and this helps us to get also institutional investors.
Exactly. Yeah, that sounds really fascinating. I'm keen to learn more about your company and your expansion plans in the UK, and what more you will do. But we are running out of time, so I think that there was somebody who had a question. Please do just put that in the chat, and link up everyone to sort of take this conversation outside of the webinar also. I think it's really fascinating. So thank you very much for your time and insight into what Hyperion is doing in the UK. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Ashish. That was really, really insightful, and I'm sure lots of people have questions on that, so we will try to reply afterwards. Now I will pass on to Stuart Miller, who is CEO for the National Robotarium, an accelerator and incubator for robotics located in Scotland. Hi, Stuart. So has lots of experience in the industry, has been CTO at Innovate UK, so he will be very helpful to you.
Thanks, Andrea. Morning, everyone. I'm going to share a few slides and talk you through what the National Robotarium does at the moment, and where it's positioned in the UK landscape for supporting companies like yours in terms of robotics and getting involved in what's going on in the UK. Picking up on a couple of things that have already been said, where Caroline talked about the network, we're part of that network of centres around the UK. We have a particular approach, which I'll explain in a minute, which is very much in line with something else that Caroline and Jonathan have mentioned, which is bringing together industry, research, and government support to try and work together to deliver improvements in robotics in the UK. But we're certainly a place where if you're considering coming to the UK, you should get in touch with us, and you'll find out in a second when I go through the slides why that's the case. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Hopefully you can all see that. Put it in presentation mode. So this is a lovely building that I'm sitting in at the moment, and where we're based just outside Edinburgh in Scotland, but the national in our title is the whole of the UK. So our remit is to try and do everything that we do across the whole of the UK and be impactful across the UK. We've been going now for just over 3 years, and what I'm showing you now is what we call our statement of purpose. So this is the reasons why we exist and what we're trying to achieve. Ultimately, you can see at the bottom there, we're trying to have a positive impact on both the economy and the society, primarily in the UK, but more widely as well. And hopefully, in that respect, we have some global significance as well as just the UK significance. Part of the reason for being on this webinar is in line with that global significance part. But what we really do is we use robotics and AI to help us try and be safe.
The slides are not moving on.
Are they not? Oh, that's a shame. Let me try something slightly different. Hold on just one second. Are they moving on when I'm in this mode? Yeah? Okay, I'll stick with this mode then. Hopefully the text is still large enough. So I'll go back and show you the nice picture very quickly. There's a nice picture of where we are. Just very, maybe while I'm back on that, to talk about the size of what we do. So we've now got around about 140 people working in the National Robotarium every day, and they're working across a number of different things, which I'll come on to in 1 or 2 slides' time. The National Robotarium itself, as I was just saying, has a purpose, and this tries to capture that purpose. So we specialise and really only work on robotics, but robotics and AI combined, and that's becoming increasingly important, as I'm sure most of the people on this webinar know. I'm not going to go through all the details of this, but we tend to look at how we can apply robotics and AI under broad headings of helping us all to be safe. That includes things like autonomous vehicles. It includes all those dull, dirty and dangerous jobs. And it also includes looking at things like regulation and legislation to ensure that robotics are implemented safely. We look at healthcare. That's come up previously in terms of a major area in the UK that we're looking to adopt robotics in and use to improve our National Health Service and also our social care at home and in residential care. And traditionally, obviously, there's been a use already, or extensive use of robotics in manufacturing and logistics, and that's where we also operate. We try and do that by adding real positive, pragmatic, added value for businesses that we support. We try and make sure that we help them to reduce the costs and time and risk of adopting robotics. For companies that we support, we try and give them an environment where they can thrive and grow. So we have at the moment in the building 11 startup companies in robotics from around the UK, and a wider network of another 10 or 12 dotted around the UK that we work with as and when required. So that's really what we're here to do. And it's summed up very much by this slide, where we're doing 4 things at once. We are helping industry to adopt and use robotics. We're in touch with hundreds of companies in all kinds of sectors, ranging from agriculture to healthcare, manufacturing, logistics, space, medicine production, all kinds of sectors. And that means that for companies coming to the UK and working with the National Roboterium as they establish themselves, they will get access to all of that sort of network and ecosystem of companies that we've already built and created. And we do a lot with, as I've just mentioned, in terms of startup support. So we're also a place to base yourself in the UK to be able to grow your business. And we help with facilities, but we also help with access to government programs and access to private funding, etc. And added to that, we work very closely with all the universities around the UK, but particularly those that are geographically close to us in Edinburgh, Heriot-Watt, Glasgow, Strathclyde, to pull through and be part of understanding where research needs to go to advance robotics for the future, but also to enable and accelerate research by giving access to the equipment and people that we have here in the Roboterium. And then finally, but very importantly, we're also involved in talent and skills development, bringing through the next generation of robotics engineers, but also helping companies to find and employ the people that they need to go on their robotics journey. And very importantly, because we do all of that connected and we do it together, then we see the connections between, for example, what's going on in research and how that could get involved with a startup company who in turn could be talking to a potential industrial customer. Just to give you an idea of the scale, this is a little bit out of date, but we haven't changed dramatically in the last 12 months. So we're looking, as I said, at around about now 140 people in the building. They're a mix of the permanent employees in my team who are primarily working with the industrial partners to help them adopt and use robotics, but they're also working on a few other government schemes, looking at how to grow the network in the UK, etc. We've got the resident companies. I think we're closer to 70 or so people employed by them. So those are all developing new robots for different applications. 6 of them are now producing their robots and selling them around the world. So that's really good success in the space of 2 or 3 years. And we're attracting research grants as well as working very hard on publicising and networking and creating within the UK that network of interested parties, be they in government, in the private sector, in research, in industry, who can come together to try and make things happen in the UK around robotics. So in terms of what we have here physically, we have space for people to set themselves up. We have connection to schools and colleges for developing talent and skills. We've got test facilities, a large outdoor test area for ruggedized robotics. We've got access to wave tanks for underwater robotics. We've got our own robotics and autonomous systems lab for testing and developing robots on 2 legs, 4 legs, 4 wheels, tracks, whatever. And also in there, we've just recently established a cobotting space working on 6-axis robots and cobotting. Most importantly, we've got a team of people. So we have 12 systems, robotic systems engineers on the permanent staff working on robotics projects every day, and they bring a mix of experience across those projects. And in addition, access to academics and researchers, etc. Space to develop your robot, that's really what's been the real catalyst for the resident companies that have been here so far, having the space and the equipment in workshops, etc., to design, develop, build, test and demonstrate their robots both to investors and customers, and therefore grow their companies. And we've got a stock of many robots, just over £4 million worth of robotics equipment in the Roboterium at everyone's disposal. Just in the interest of time, I'll gloss over this one, but this is just really saying that we also have outside of the building a wide network that is growing internationally. So we're connected to a number of international centres around the globe, and particularly in Europe, in Spain and Denmark, Germany, but also in Boston and Silicon Valley. And we're working across multiple sectors and industries I mentioned before. So one of the ways to look at the Robotarium is as a place which is connecting all the bits of what's going on in the UK, doing that in harmony with people like Jonathan and Caroline, to make sure that there's a joined up UK approach, but also as a place where, as a first point of contact, if you want to know what's going on in the UK, we can probably be of help. And also as a place where if you based yourselves, then there's a lots of things that we've already established and matured that have helped other companies, not Hyperion, but other companies to do similar things to Hyperion. So I will finish on that. If you want more information, the best place to start is our website, but we also have a YouTube channel and a LinkedIn channel. So I hope that's been useful, and I'll stop sharing.
Thank you so much, Stuart. That was really, really interesting. We will, for anybody who needs more information, we will send the slides and make connections with anybody who wants to get in touch with all of you. So you've heard about the technology and the opportunities in the UK. So now we're going to hear from some companies who will actually help you in the practicalities of doing so when you enter the UK. First off, Mark Dodsworth from the company Euro Partnerships. Mark, over to you. We can't hear you, Mark.
Sorry about that. Yeah, all right, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay.
We can, and I can
Okay.
see the first slide, yes.
Okay, good. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on which part of Europe you're based. Delighted to be here. I'm going to start by giving you a kind of example of how we work by giving you a client story. And the client I'm going to talk about is actually a Finnish client. Some Finns in the audience may well know this company. They're called Digital Workforce Services, and their sector is business automation and technology solutions. They were originally part of a Finnish fintech delegation to London in autumn 2023, which was supported by Business Finland, the Finnish version of DBT, and with Euro Partnerships, my company, as the delivery partner. They were so impressed with the outcomes that they decided to contract with us, with Euro Partnerships, directly for a further company-specific B2B matchmaking event and accompanying sales partner searches the following spring 2024. Now, our tasks, if we can go on to the next slide. Our tasks were firstly to complete a partner search questionnaire. Partner search questionnaire is a diagnostic tool that we use to identify needs and priorities in advance of an internationalization project. Secondly, to take part in an intake interview online in order to better understand the current situation regarding the UK and allow us to more effectively tailor support. Then desk research or market research to clarify the opportunity, routes to market, competition, pricing, etc. Plus research to identify suitable target guests in the area of British UK fintech to meet with and participate in the group matchmaking event taking place in 24. Our task was also to manage the invitation process by email and by phone, do weekly progress review meetings online, staffing for the events at the Ambassador of Finland's residence in Notting Hill, and final project evaluation meeting. The actions. Okay, so the process was basically desk and telephone research to identify relevant UK guests, liaise with the clients and the Embassy of Finland, Business Finland team, regular progress meetings, preparation of the UK guest list, printing of documentation, and advice on B2B meeting process, including cross-cultural awareness tips. The results: 2 highly successful B2B events held in central London, one as part of the FinTech group in 23, and one exclusively for them and for their UK targets in the insurance industry. Furthermore, there were individual online and face-to-face meetings, some accompanied by members of our team, resulting in many useful contacts for the client, which they could follow up themselves. There was the establishment of a UK office in London, partly staffed by Finns, and a learning process above all, so that they could run similar projects, similar B2B events, similar partners such as themselves in the future. And last but not least, their interest in the US led us to introduce them to our US partner in Wisconsin, EMW, who successfully supported them for a trade event in Texas. A couple more slides, really just an example of the kind of tools that we might use during the project. This is a work plan. There's some photographs of the team on the last slide. And I'm just going to end by just summarizing what we do. So we were founded 25 years ago in the English city of Bristol, moving to Warwick in the West Midlands in 2008. We were founded originally to support British companies in their exporting activities, but by 2010, the company was working exclusively with European clients seeking to enter the British and Irish markets. And today, the company employs a multilingual team of market researchers, business strategy advisors, business partnering specialists, and event managers, and following a recent merger, is now partially Dutch-owned with an additional office and team in Eindhoven. Drawing heavily on our USPs, the following services are offered to European companies like digital workforce. We will undertake market research focused on the UK and the Irish Republic, and including identification of market opportunities, product service suitability for the market, routes to market, competitors, pricing, regulatory framework, etc. We offer partner searches, whether for sales or for strategic alliance purposes. We offer strategic advice for market selection, market entry, planning and resource management. We offer event management, like the example that I gave you in the Ambassador of Finland's residence, product launches, presentations, focus groups, and B2B matchmaking. We offer cross-cultural awareness, briefing and training, including meeting etiquette and protocol, understanding your British or Irish customer, and effective presentations in English. We offer e-marketing support, helping you to manage your English language website, prepare e-newsletters and social media, LinkedIn posts, or take full advantage of trade fairs and conferences, whether exhibiting or just visiting. We introduce you to qualified service providers, covering all aspects of law, finance and banking, recruitment and executive search, office location, whether physical or virtual, freight forwarding, translation and interpreting. And we offer you access to our local networks, which is, I have to say, after 25 years, pretty extensive, of national and regional contacts built up across multiple industries and sectors over 25 years.
Thank you, Mark. I'm really sorry. Okay. I'm going to have to cut you there.
That's the end.
Really short on time. That's the end.
One last thing. There is a free consultation for any company that would like to know more. We're very happy to offer that to any of the companies on the webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark. Now we will hear from Anna Gresa from legal firm Keystone Law, who really supports us with many companies setting up in the UK, and she will go over the legalities that you have to take into account when you go to the UK. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Christina. So good morning, everyone. Like Andrea just mentioned, I am a corporate lawyer at Keystone Law, and we help international companies set up and operate in the UK. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk you through at a high level what setting up in the UK actually involves and what you need to do to be operational as smoothly as possible. So setting up in the UK is a structured and relatively straightforward process. And in practice, everything comes down to 4 building blocks. So the first one is the corporate structure. Most businesses set up a UK limited company to operate in the UK. Incorporating a limited company is a straightforward process, and in many cases, this can be done within 24 hours. Directors do not need to live in the UK, and the entire process can be done fully remotely. The key decisions are who are the shareholders, who are the directors, and how the group will be structured. Are you going to open a subsidiary in the UK or switch the holding company? These matters need to be discussed with lawyers and tax advisors to ensure you get it right from the outset. The second building block relates to tax and payroll registrations. Once incorporated, the company needs to register for, number 1, corporation tax, which currently stands at 19% for companies with profits up to £50,000, and a main rate of 25% for companies with profits above this amount. The company must also sometimes needs to register for VAT. The instances when a company must register for VAT are the following. If the VAT taxable turnover exceeds £90,000 in any rolling 12-month period, this is the current VAT registration threshold. Or if it expects its VAT taxable turnover to exceed £90,000 in the next 30 days. A company may choose to register voluntarily for VAT, even if its turnover is below £90,000. And this is common when the company has significant startup costs and wants to recover VAT. The company sells mainly to VAT registered businesses, or being VAT registered is commercially expected in their sector. The company will also need to register for the third registration, which is the PAYE registration if it is hiring employees in the UK. So the UK system is very digital and quite efficient, but you do need to do this early and in the right order. The third building block is opening a bank account. In practice, this is often the real bottleneck. Banks will open an account once the company is in existence and the directors are properly identified and they have completed their KYC and AML checks and processes. Traditional banks can take months, really, rather than weeks, so many companies choose to open a bank account with a fintech or a challenger bank in the first instance. Having a UK-based director or employees can certainly help smooth and expedite the bank account opening process. The fourth and final building block is and relates to staff and compliance costs. If you are hiring in the UK, you need proper employment contracts, payroll, and pension arrangements. If you are relocating people, this links directly to the visa process that will be discussed by the following speaker. Employers pay around 13.8% national insurance on the employee's gross salary, plus a minimum of 3% of qualified earnings as pension contributions. This is paid into the employee's private pension scheme set up by the employer. Pitfalls. What are the most common mistakes? Number 1, underestimating banking timelines by delaying bank setup. We therefore always recommend that businesses start the process of opening a bank account as soon as the limited company has been incorporated. Number 2, not planning VAT or tax registrations. And 3, setting up the wrong structure, which can be costly later to fix. So really to conclude, the UK is one of the easiest major markets to enter if preparation and sequencing are done correctly. And I'll be happy to take any questions later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. I'm sure you will have questions. Now, another very important topic, visas. We have Corinne Sotal, who's head of migration for our visa team, and she will cover this area for you. Hello, Corinne.
Hi everyone. Hopefully you can see my slides. Are they showing? Let me know if you can't see it.
Yeah, they're good. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, hi everyone. It's great to speak to you all today. So I'm Corinne Sortow, and I'm the head of the Migration Service at the Office for Investment, which sits within the Department for Business and Trade. I'm here to tell you a bit about the UK visa and mobility offer and how we can support DVT clients in their UK immigration journey. So the UK visa system presents a compelling offer for those businesses or investors looking to relocate to the UK, or for businesses who want to recruit skilled overseas talent. For example, last year, 86% of work-related visa applications were granted. So broadly, you can expect that if you meet the requirements for the visa route that you apply for, you should expect to get your visa. Visa applications are relatively straightforward to submit. It's all done online. And for EU citizens, you can even submit your biometric data, which is your photo, fingerprint, via an app. Most visa applications are usually decided in 3 weeks, but where time is critical, there are priority processing options available for an additional fee, and you can get a faster decision on your visa. You can get a decision in 5 working days using the priority service, or in some markets, including select European markets, you can even get a decision by the end of the next working day. For businesses wanting to sponsor visas for employees, you can also reduce the processing time for a sponsor license down from 8 weeks to 10 working days. There are also a range of visa options available to you. These range from business visits for work-related activities such as conferences, consulting, training, all the way to establishing a new business in the UK. We also have visa routes for skilled talent or internal transfers of senior and highly skilled workers, as well as for accessing pools of talent in the UK, which includes graduates on a graduate visa, graduates from global top 100 universities, and the global talent route itself, which is aimed at leaders or future leaders in 3 specific fields, which includes digital technology and academia or research. And finally, and probably most importantly, how can the Migration Service at DBT help you with your visa needs? So it's important to clarify, we're not immigration lawyers and cannot give legal advice, but we are in a unique position within government ourselves, and we work closely with our Home Office and UK visa and immigration colleagues. We can provide guidance and support in navigating the visa options for your specific plans. We also work with the Home Office to help clarify complex policy or issues to help give you a bit more certainty in your UK immigration plans. And we can even intervene where immigration applications have been held up. We could raise these cases with our UKVI colleagues and try to unblock them. We also really value conversations with businesses to try and understand where they're experiencing challenges with UK visas and mobility. And this provides us with crucial evidence and case studies, which we then present back to the Home Office, which allows us to help influence development of more pro-business and investment visa policy. So finally, if you do have any questions on anything visas or mobility, the service can be contacted at the following email address. Okay, that's everything for me, and I'll hand you back to Andrea. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Corinne. That's key to entering the UK, so it's very tricky to navigate. And thank you for your help. So now we've got 2 minutes to the end of the webinar. We've got a couple of questions. Questions we can't answer now, we will answer later on. So the first one from Pav. Please, can you confirm how Innovate UK and DCIT are supporting with the barriers to deployment, including multi-regulators, ethics, and understanding of workers, multiple standards, robotic capability, needing work with humans, and cross-sector deployment? So I'm not sure if Jonathan or Caroline.
Yeah, I can take that one. It's a complex question, Pav, and through the robotics adoption program, we'll be supporting all of these aspects. There's also that Caroline mentioned, expanding their remit to robotics more generally and looking for those granular opportunities where we can overcome regulatory barriers for robotics. Caroline, did you want to add anything?
No, given time, that's all good. Thanks, Jonathan.
Okay, another question from Aslan. Visual data is fundamental for training AI systems in robotics and automation. At the same time, such data frequently includes personally identifiable information that requires protection. How do you address this challenge? Do you have any anonymization solutions?
I mean, that would be down to the companies themselves to develop that, from my perspective.
Okay. Next question. I think. So which hubs, centers do you have in London that we can contact and or cooperate with? We will be sending information later on about this, but if you have any specific hubs that you can name in London, that would be great.
We've put a few of these in the chat between Jonathan and I, but the centres at UCL, Imperial, King's, to name a few on the university side, and then the Digital Catapult is also based in London, as well as the Royal Academy of Engineering and the Institution for Engineering and Technology.
Thanks. And this question for Ashish, if you can put your camera on, for 3D printed concrete projects in the UK, are there any guidelines and standards or Eurocodes available required to meet structural and building regulation requirements?
Yeah, so we are already complying with the existing codes, so we don't have to, like, there are no new codes, of course, because they come after a few years. So we have to comply with current codes. So this is how we are approaching it currently.
Okay, I think we've come to the end. We've gone over for 1 minute, but we will definitely reply either in the chat or if you leave your email, your questions. We will be sending the slides afterwards, the recording, and a feedback questionnaire if you could please reply to us. So I see some of you have been doing networking on the chat already, and we're happy to put people in touch as well. Thank you to everybody. This was really excellent, and we will definitely be in touch. So if you need to contact your local embassy, British Embassy in your country, if you're interested in the UK, please do so. And I'm sure you have the contacts. If not, we will put you in touch. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.